I was out here at the barn. I just got through picking my okra, and I caught a wild hare. If you don't know what that means, that's southern for I got an idea it may or may not work. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So I was about to bag up this okra right here. You can't even really see it, but there's about half a picking bucket full there. And I got to looking down here, and I forgot I had these few red taters down here we never got around to eating. They're just kind of sitting down here. Now, some of them's just flat out burnt and soggy. Ain't gonna be able to do nothing with it, but I noticed I got a few of them here, like this guy, still relatively hard, and got sprouts all over it. So, hence my wild hare. I apologize if this is a little bit grainy. It's dark out here, like I said, but I got my LED shop light right up there. Maybe shine a little light on the situation, but see that tater right there? Still nice and firm. Little sprouts coming out of it. Now that's right there, that's burnt. You ain't gonna do nothing with that. Same thing with that one right there, it's burnt. These right here, gonna be all right. That one there's got a little hole or something in it, but they still feels like there's enough tater up top there to work with. We even got these little guys here. We might not even cut them up. But I think I got enough here to maybe plant me at least one 30-foot row of some fall taters. These are red Norlands we grew back in the spring. Like I said, I just kind of forgot about them out there till I was walking by my rack today. I saw them sprouts, and I said, hot dog, we might be able to try something. Now, in full disclosure here, I have never successfully grown a fall crop of Irish taters. I've tried one time, and I'll tell you what happened when we tried it one time. I know it can be done. I've seen and heard of other folks doing it successfully. Never grown them in the fall. I know a little bit about growing taters and what kind of temperature and what kind of weather they like, so we're going to give it a shot. Now, the only other time we tried this was, I'd say, maybe 3 years ago or so. The problem with growing taters in the fall is it's hard to find seed potatoes this time of year. You see, most all your seed potatoes is grown up north. Up there in Montana, Maine, Wisconsin, Minnesota, all them northern states is where they grow seed potatoes at. And the seed potatoes we sell and start shipping towards the end of January, they all come from up north. So that's their main crop of potatoes that we're planting the following year. Down here in the south, of course, we plant potatoes in February. They come off in May or so. And usually they're kind of rotten and long gone by now. Surprising these things here stored as well as they did. So the time we planted them, we got a late bunch of potatoes that was still some leftover from what was being planted as their main crop up in Idaho, somewhere up there in the Pacific Northwest. And it was still too hot to plant them, so we knew we had to store them somehow, and they were already starting to sprout. And we didn't want them to sprout anymore, and we put them in cold storage. And they seemed to be all right in there, but as soon as we pulled them out the next few days, we put them in the ground, and they just rotted in the ground. That was a big lesson learned there, not to put potatoes in cold storage. There's too much moisture for them. So if you're going to plant fall potatoes, you either got to save your own seed stock from your spring planting, or some folks will say you go to the grocery store and get you some and let them sprout out and plant. Now, I don't know if there's any truth to this, but all my seed potato guys say that you should only plant certified seed potatoes, that you risk adding some disease to your soil that's hard to get rid of if you plant store-bought potatoes. I don't know if that's 100% true or not, but I like to take their word for it. They are potato experts. So if you were going to go to the store and get some and try to plant them, the trick is getting them to sprout, because sometimes it can take store-bought potatoes a long time to start sprouting. Now, I've heard that you can put them in a paper sack with, apple slices, I think, cut up apple. Anyway, the fruit releases ethylene gas, and that stimulates the sprout production. I've never tried that, but I've heard that. Anyway, I think down here in the South, the best way to do it, if you can and if you can keep them stored right, is to save you some potatoes from your spring crop. Now, we can't plant these immediately because I need to cut them up a little bit. As we always tell you every time we do a spring potato video, if you plant a whole tater, you're gonna get a lot of taters, but they're gonna be small taters. If you cut them up and just plant an eye or two, you're gonna get bigger taters, a few fewer taters than if you plant the whole one, but you're gonna get bigger taters. So we're gonna cut these up just an eye or two per slice here. That still feels pretty nice inside. You could probably eat that tater right there. And we don't want to put them right in the ground. Of course, we ain't gonna plant them tonight anyway. We don't want to put them right in the ground after we slice them because that's a little prone to fungus right there. So we want to let that heal over what we call suberize. I think there's only one eye left on there. Get one of these big ones right here. We can probably get several pieces off it. And you don't have to have a lot of meat on the tater there, on the piece, when you're cutting it. Just a little bit will do. Just get one or two eyes there. And I believe we might get enough for 2 rows if we cut these things fairly strategically here. Cut that one there. I believe that's all there is on that one there. But if we can get a couple pieces here, at least 2 or 3 pieces from each of these bigger taters, I believe we might have something here. Now, back to planting taters in the fall. I'm no expert tater grower, but I've done it successfully a time or two, and I know taters do not like hot weather. And I could be off on this, but I got a feeling we're gonna have a little bit of early fall this year. It's beginning of September right now, and I can already feel the temperatures start breaking a little bit at night. Now, we had a really late summer last year. It was hard to get some of our cool crops in the ground when we wanted to. But I got a feeling this year fall's gonna come a little early. And if that happens, this time is gonna be just about right. Usually taters take, you figure, 100 days or so. They might come off a little quicker, being that we're planting them right now when it's a little warmer. But you can figure 100 days or so. So if we put these in the ground early September, we're looking at September's 30 days, October's 30 days, November's 30 days. We usually get our frost end of November, early December. So if I can plant these and I can get them out of the ground before we get a first frost, say the end of November, would have had 90 days there. I probably got plenty of time to make this happen. It's going to be an interesting little experiment to see. If it don't work, I haven't really lost anything, but a little bit of time cutting these up and sitting here talking to you guys, which I don't mind doing at all. Let's see if we can get 2 pieces out of that one there. So we'll let them puppies heal over, and that'll usually take a couple days for that to happen, and then that's when we'll be ready to plant. These real tiny ones here, I might have told you, with just one eye on them, I think I'm gonna just plant those whole. Maybe we can get 2 pieces out of this guy. So we need, if we're gonna plant these, I got a little plot beside my, a little space beside my zinnias in my dream garden where I planted, had my canary melons planted. And if we're gonna do a 30-foot row of these, which is what my rows are in the dream garden, we're gonna put them about 6 to 8 inches apart. We need 60 pieces of tater per row. If we're gonna do 2 rows, we need about 120 pieces of tater. So we'll just have to see what we got. I don't wanna do a row and a half of them. If it looks like I ain't got quite enough to put them at 6-inch spacing on 2 rows, I might just spread them out a little bit, put them 8 to 12 inches apart, just to make sure we get 2 rows. These red Norlands are my favorite red tater I've ever grown. I've grown lots of them Pontiacs over the years, and they're okay. They don't seem to be as vigorous and as disease resistant as these Norlands do. I really like the red Norlands as far as the red tater goes. And I had a good crop of these in the spring. and looks like we're gonna be able to double up on them and use them again. So I'm gonna finish cutting these up and we'll let those heal over, and I'll catch back up with you in a day or so once they're healed over, and we'll stick them in the ground. All right, so it's been a couple days since we cut these up. We can see here that the skins have kind of healed over on these potatoes, or suberized, so we're good to plant them. Got this spot back here, one of the plots in our dream garden. I got 2 double rows of zinnias right there, and then I'm gonna plant, I think I got enough here for 2 rows. 2 rows of these red potatoes right there beside those zinnias. Now, for you lunar planting enthusiasts out there, just as a reference, we had a full moon last night, so now we're into a waning moon, whatever that means. I'm not sure if that's correct by the books on the moon planting. Y'all know I don't really pay attention to that, but just thought I'd let y'all know. So these fall potatoes, like I told you earlier, you got to have at least 90 days before your first frost if you're gonna do it. We should have that. Also, you kind of want to do it right on the edge of when the temperature is going to break a little bit. Now, we're expected to have a few more days in the 90s this week, but it looks like next week we're below 90 all during the week. And like I said, I think fall may come a little early this year, and if we're below 90s all next week, that's a good sign that things may be cooling off a little bit. It's pretty froggy out here this morning. Not supposed to get up to 85 until later today, maybe get hotter later this afternoon. Well, we got a decent amount of seed potatoes right here. And one thing about these, planting these from our own kind of seed stock like this, is I don't expect these to make as good a crop as the first time we planted these in the spring. So in talking to some seed potato experts, they've told me about how the production can decline a little bit over time if you keep replanting seed stock. So the professional commercial potato growers out there, they grow what they call nuclear potatoes, which are like first generation potatoes. So there is such thing as a potato seed, and they grow potatoes from that first or nuclear generation. And then what us backyard gardeners end up getting usually is second or third generation seed potatoes. It'll be interesting to see if there's any truth to that, if these things will perform as well as their parents did for us early in the spring. We'll just have to see. Hopefully we get a decent enough crop, we can have something to eat. Maybe maybe they'll come in around Thanksgiving or so. We'll have some nice fresh red taters in Thanksgiving. Anyway, so I'm gonna get my double wheel hoe. We're gonna scratch out a couple furrows here, and then we'll be ready to plant potatoes. All right, so we got us 2 furrows scratched out right here for 2 rows of fall potatoes. I got those 2 rows there probably about 4 foot apart. I didn't measure it, but that's just good general spacing on potatoes. Now, normally, if we're doing this in the spring, we would amend the soil with compost or maybe even some kind of manure before we plant. There's still a good bit of compost in that soil, still a good bit of amendment in there, and I know that from the canary melons I had here before. They did really well. I didn't have to fertilize them a whole lot. So there's just some good nutrients in that soil there. Now, once the potatoes come up, I will come in and before the first hilling, I'll side dress them with some of our complete organic fertilizer, and then I'll probably hit them with some of that a few weeks after that as well. That stuff works really, really good on potatoes. And if I didn't have a lot of nutrients in the soil already, I'd probably incorporate some of that complete organic, that pelleted hen manure into the soil, because like I said, that's some really good stuff. But we don't need to put anything in here right now. All we need to do is stick these spuds in the ground. Now you'll see some different things out there as far as plant spacing on potatoes. Some people will say 6, some people will say 8, some people will say 12. I like, between 6 to 8. That's probably closer to 8 inches right there. We're putting these in the ground, and we always want to make sure we got them eyes facing up towards the sun. So as they grow, they can grow up. That's the path of least resistance for them to emerge from the soil, so them leaves can get some sunlight and start photosynthesizing. So that looks like a pretty good little 8-inch spacing right there. And I think with that spacing, we will have enough for our 2 rows here. All right. Had enough for 2 rows, had a few left over, not quite enough for 3 rows. I think 2 rows is all I want to experiment with this deal here as far as fall potatoes go. Let me go grab my high arch wheel hoe and let's zip these babies up. So now all we do is wait and keep our fingers crossed. Soil is pretty dry, and I don't think we're supposed to have any rain in the next few days, so these things, I don't expect them to rot in the ground. They should come up pretty quick. They've already got sprouts on them, so hopefully they can come up, and hopefully things can cool off for us a little bit, and might just work out. We'll just have to see. If any of you out there are experienced fall potato growers, I'd love to hear from you. You know, do they come off pretty true to the 90 to 100 day maturity date this time of year, or is it a lot faster? Any tips or tricks you have would be greatly appreciated there. You can leave those in the comments below. And for any of you out there that still have, you know, time like we do before your first frost date, and maybe you've got some spring potatoes, some leftover potatoes from your first harvest that are sprouting, hey, give this a try with me. We can do this together and kind of all see how it goes. A little experiment if you got some extra room in your garden there. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to smash that like button and smash that share button so we can spread the gardening love all around the world. We'll see you next time.